Hello, everybody.
Good evening.
Good
evening, Mayor.
Good evening, Mayor.
Hi, Mayor.
Hello, it's good to see everyone. We're going, it is 7:30. We're going to
How
call.
you doing, Mayor?
Fine, how you doing? Who is this? All right, I'm doing fine. We're going to call the meeting to order. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'll start the roll call off with Alderwoman West. Absent. Alderwoman Tapman. Absent. Alderwoman Reed.
Tatman, I thought I saw her name on there.
Absent. Alderman Carroll. Absent. Alderman Thomas.
Present.
Alderman Perry.
I'm good. I'm just present.
Alderwoman Dales. Dales.
You muted, my dear.
Sorry, I'm on. I had an emergency call from my church.
Okay, Alderwoman Dales, can you say present, please?
I'm present. I apologize. I'm present.
That's okay. Alderwoman Avant Elliott, absent. And Alderwoman, huh? And Alderwoman Tapman, can you say present, please?
Lack
Yeah.
of response.
Present, and I'm
Very
gonna get off
disappointing.
just for a minute. And
Okay.
I'll be back on.
Okay, the mayor, you have the chief, the city attorney, the mayor, and the city clerk. And so you have 4 present and 4 absent.
All right, so we don't have a quorum. So we will continue as we have in the past. And we cannot approve the agenda, but all of the things on there stays the same except for the municipal judge, Judge Judy Draper. We will appoint her to a second term, 2-year term, pending board approval. And so everything else will remain the same. We will go down to meeting. If the public don't mind, I'd like to get these reports and then we will turn it over to the public. And instead of you getting 3 minutes, you'll get 6 minutes. All right, we just get them all at one time. So let's see, city treasurer's report. That is the first one.
Hello.
Hello?
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so to present the treasurer's report, the report is as of May 2021. The city currently holds $4.3 million in all funds at the local investment banks administered by myself, the mayor, and the city clerk. For the, I believe I communicated this before, but the preliminary proposed budget for the 2021-2022 fiscal year is ready for approval, discussion. So that's already been provided. As it relates to the general fund, all departments are operating at or below the total budget year to date for the year from an expense perspective. From a revenue perspective, annualized sales tax revenue for the general fund is trending above budget. And overall, the current annualized revenue across all funds are trending at or just right at budget. So the key contributors to the general fund being above budget, as discussed previously, are the CARES Act funds. As it relates to other expenses, for the general fund, indirect expenses overall are below budget as expected by 25%. with the exception of payroll insurance and other employee-related taxes. For the capital improvement fund, I believe that the rec center is currently implementing, they've currently initiated the projects that were a part of the budget. So for the most part, all departments are at or below budget for capital improvement activities. I believe I saw on the agenda too, there's an amendment to the 2020-2021 fiscal year budget. So I know that would include some of the police department activity as well. As it relates to the debt fund, as I communicated before, all expenses related to the fiscal year debt have been paid for the fiscal year 2020 and 2021. And overall, the city has solid liquidity to meet all short-term obligations, and those due within the current fiscal year. So there's no concern about not being able to pay bills or anything of that nature. But considering the cash available at hand, as I communicated before, there's no risk of being late on anything. Overall, I think I did want to mention that there was a question that came up about CARES Act funds and the usage and allocation of those funds. And I did want to communicate that the revenue received from the CARES Act funds, the budget for activity related to those funds received are included on the 2021-2022 fiscal year budget. So with that being said, that concludes the treasurer report.
All righty, thank you. And Pubba, you can hold your question until we turn it over to you. Planning and zoning.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Planning and zoning had a meeting this past Monday. We had old business and new business. On the old business front, we talked about the proposed firehouse at 800 Chambers Road and development since then. Basically, we're still at the same status. Negotiations between the fire and school districts seem to be continuing. I did touch base with Chief Goldstein to see if he had any news, and he said he would not be able to talk about it, but if and when an agreement is made, it will become public knowledge and we'll know about it then. Under new business, we discussed Influence Church. We had invited and expected representatives from Influence Church and their contractor, Paradigm Builders, concerning an addition to their building that they're proposing. The building department was able to contact Paradigm Builders and requested they ask that a representative from Influence Church, their client, also be in attendance. Paradigm confirmed that their rep, Leon O'Hara, would attend the meeting. We wanted to find out more about the addition, but also address a number of non-compliance issues at the same time. Unfortunately, at the meeting, neither Paradigm or Influence Church attended. We'd also learned that day that Influence Church never obtained an occupancy permit. We talked about several issues of non-compliance with city ordinances and an overall lack of response from Influence Church. I stated the noise from diesel-powered refrigeration units on the trucks and trailers there has been a source of complaints since September of last year. I was made aware of it early in March. I made a visit there shortly thereafter, leaving a copy of the noise ordinance, section 19-76, with them, along with my contact information, requesting that somebody call me to talk about it. I've attempted to contact them twice again last week, again leaving my contact information and a request for a call back, but there's been no response. This lack of response is very disappointing. At the end of the meeting, we heard from Mr. Sonny Marquardt, who's a resident who's complained about the noise of the diesel-powered refrigeration units to various people in city government since December. Prior to that, he tried to work with Pastor Ralph Smith to reduce the noise. Pastor Smith said he would see what he could do, but there was no change. He informed us, Mr. Marquardt informed us he was 86 years old and is caring for his wife who has dementia. He said caring for her can sometimes become a little much. They both like to sit in their backyard, enjoy nature and the peace. He said the cycling of the diesel-powered refrigeration units on the trucks and trailers at Influence Church have made their time outside much less enjoyable. Consequently, they spend more time inside than they would like. He grows tomatoes, among other vegetables, but tending his garden is also not what it used to be. After a lot of discussion, we decided it would be best to ask the city attorney to draft a formal letter to Influence Church stating our concerns. I recommended including a deadline for compliance since the noise issue had been going on for so long. Members agreed on this approach. I emailed Attorney White Coleman with a request to draft such a letter the next day. Since then, Alderwoman Dales and I have traded talking points, but I'm hoping and wanting the drafting and forwarding of a letter can proceed. I am not asking to look at it before it is sent out. I trust Attorney White Coleman will use her knowledge and experience in such matters for the best result. And that is my report.
All right, thank you. The building inspector's report.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
You should have your numbers in front of you for May. Occupancy inspections have slowed down a little bit for the last month, a little slower than normal. However, construction inspections has picked up quite a bit. We've also been dealing with a lot of grass issues, evidently. Springtime, we have found a lot of new vacant houses that we've been addressing here recently. The prior round was the vacant houses, so now we're looking at newly vacant houses that we did not have on our vacant house list. We're also going back through the algae requests that we've had for taking care of the algae on houses around. That's our next big task coming up this week. We do have several projects going on, and the city engineer may refer to a few of these, but Crystal's Creamery is making good progress. They've done a lot of painting and renovations up at the old Dairy Queen. They hope to have that re-inspected here shortly and hope to be opening up here before long. So I'm sure everyone will be ready for some ice cream on hot days like tomorrow. We're also looking at another a rebuild of a firehouse down on Running Brook that's been burnt for several months now. We've been working with the architect there to get that up and running and get them out there working on that house. Kill Creek Snack Shop is also another project there. It's on 1200 Dar. They're putting in a new hood. They're going to be upgrading their facilities there and offering more services and more products. So once they get this renovation finished, I hope everybody will frequent their shop and hopefully it'll be a nice addition to the neighborhood. We're also working on a cabin out on Toley at the end of Toley private lane there. We've been making some good progress on that, and I hope to finish that project up soon. And that's about all the projects we have at the moment. So that's the end of my report.
Alderwoman Tapman. I thought I saw your hand up.
It was, but I got froze out. My question was for Mr. Barrett, so I'll come back around, let everyone put their reports in. When I raised my hand, I got knocked off. So I just get back on.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. The city engineers report.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Aldermen, Alderwomen. You have a copy of my report in front of you. Joe took a lot of my talking points, so I won't go over those. I want to let you know that the MSD projects to separate stormwater from wastewater on Coburg lands and Rayford Court have been completed. I signed off on them, and now they are responsible for upkeep for a year. So we'll keep our eye on it and make sure that there's no issue. at the end of the year, we will walk through again just to make sure everything's fine. Their house on Running Brook that caught fire, they have submitted drawings and they look pretty good. There's just a few details I need from them, but they should be ready to go and get that repaired.
Good.
Let's see. I was looking at my list. I think Joe caught and Pat got the other stuff. So if there's any questions, I'll answer any of them.
Okay. Chief's report.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things. Focusing on crime. Our violent crime is about averaged out for the period of May, which is a good sign. Our motor vehicle theft is pretty much hit an all-time low for one last month. I'm hoping that's attributable to people being more conscientious about locking their vehicles, not leaving them running unattended. We're still trying to address bad driving behavior throughout the city. As you all know, July 4th holiday is coming up. Fireworks are going to become an issue again, just like every year. I asked the street department to stake the city signs stating that fireworks are prohibited for use within the city. I'm asking everybody to work with their neighbors to try to mitigate this problem. A handful of police officers cannot address every fireworks issue. So the community working together to mitigate that problem with us would be a major help. However, it's going to be a nuisance over the next few weeks, but please do not hesitate to report fireworks violations through police dispatch. I want to make a comment on the back of Mr. Barrett's discussion about Influence Church. I've been aware for the last, I believe, couple months about the generators becoming a noise nuisance with the people that live on Belgrove. There have been several other attempts aside from Mr. Barris to try to gain compliance. It was asked that they move the generators and the trailers over to the opposite side of their property on the parking lot. So the north side, to basically lower the amount of noise that was making and disturbing the residents up on Belgrove. The attempts to get them to move them, nothing was done. And this is not something that I would expect a leadership organization in our community to act in terms of, disturbing the community. I do believe in what they're doing, but we also have to handle complaints as they come in. And I would expect people to be reasonable. Okay.
Turn your mic off.
The Gaming Commission hopefully will be coming in next week to verify several gaming machines that have been identified in some local businesses. I've talked about this before, I believe at the last meeting. If they validate them as illegal machines, because there's only a handful of permits throughout the state that the Gaming Commission allows for games of chance and gambling. If these are identified as legal machines, then they apply for search warrant for seizure with the St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office. The Alcohol Tobacco Control Unit from the state of Missouri has started to address Family Dollar regarding the sale of wine and beer. To my knowledge, they will have a hearing in July at some time, and they will probably end up being fined. We'll keep you updated as that goes. I wanted to take a second to talk about House Bill 85 that Governor Parsons signed the other day. House Bill 85 is aimed at protecting the Second Amendment rights of Missourians, in specific, the right to bear arms. And if you go to the governor's website, there is a press release that explains the focus of that House bill. And just to give you some excerpts of that press release, along with it, the House bill's in there as well. The purpose of the Second Amendment Preservation Act is to reject any attempt by the federal government to circumvent the fundamental rights Missourians have to keep and bear arms to protect themselves and their property. It prohibits state and local cooperation with federal officials that attempt to violate the Second Amendment rights of Missourians. These protections against federal overreach are triggered if federal officials attempt to violate the state or federal constitution. So really, what does this mean? We had an executive board meeting with the St. Louis area police chiefs and senior counsel today. If you read the House bill, it is written in vague terms. We don't know the rippling effects of this bill yet. It's not only going to affect local, county, and state law enforcement, it's also going to affect all the other organizations that work with law enforcement should there be a violation of this law. So we are planning to have a mass meeting within the coming week or two to kind of figure out what strategy we're going to use to approach the state and getting more clarification on how this law is to be used. Let's see. And lastly, we had representatives from the U.S. military, Israeli Defense Forces, and a few representatives from Germany here on a trip that stopped by Bellefontaine City Hall and talked with the mayor and I on issues surrounding race and our community. And we talked for about an hour or so, and the conversation went very, very well. They were very happy and pleased on how our city approaches racial issues and equality and equity throughout our community. Mr. Barrett, if you're still on, if you need continuing help in addressing the issues that influence church, I am more than happy to work with you on that. That's all I have.
All righty. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Evening.
Earlier this year, I reported on the Wayfair legislation that was making its way through the legislature. I am pleased to report that the bill has now passed both the House and the Senate, and it awaits the governor's signature. If the governor signs it, it will become effective January 1, 2023. Now, what this legislation does is it eliminates the unfair advantage that out-of-state businesses had for many years. Based on this legislation, they will now pay the same level of taxes that local businesses have been paying for decades. And that money will go directly to critical services such as first responders, street repair, and park maintenance. So hopefully the governor will sign it, and the cities in the state of Missouri will have a new revenue source that they can use for services that are desperately needed. I have nothing else to report, Mayor.
Thank you so much for that report. We will move now to the mayor's report. And of course, I read my statement earlier, and I just wanted to reassure the city that that the city is in good hands. We have a good staff working on your behalf, and we're not losing money other than grant money that we should have gotten. And we're going to need the board. We're going to need at least 5 members of the board present in order to pass the park and rec resolution at the next board meeting. If that does not happen, we will lose another 420, I think it's $425,000. That is unacceptable for people who say they love this city, not to show up to take care of city business. But we will do the best that we can with what we have to work with. And I want to assure you that this too will pass. What you see now will not last always. Thank you so much. Alderman Dez, your hands up.
Yes, sir, ma'am. At this time, may I please be excused from the meeting, please?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
And now we'll have the report. We'll have the report of the board.
Okay. Alderwoman Tapman?
I don't have a full report, just want to continue to encourage the citizens to take advantage of all of the services and events that we are offering the citizens. The bookmobile at Tanglewood Park is now partnering with Riverview Gardens School District. So if you have any children that's attending summer school, encourage them to go to the bookmobile that will be on the parking lot where they can get those books. And I encourage the parents to come as well. The books are free, videos are free, games are free. Also, to let you know, we will be gearing up for the Innovative Crime Prevention Public Safety Summit in October. We'll start meetings in August. I want to encourage the citizens who want to be a part of that endeavor to pay close attention to my next door post as well as the Facebook post. And also to encourage you, we have a plethora of ordinances, stack of them, I can just speak for me, that we're just waiting to present and pass on your behalf that will enhance your life in our city pertaining to crime and other issues that you have brought forth. But again, until we get a quorum, we will not be able to pass those. So to let you know that there's legislation still going on behind the scenes. We're not talking it, I'm not, because that's not important. What's important is that they're presented and passed. And we want to continue to encourage you to attend the meeting, even though you get limited access to information that you need. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Thomas?
Yes, good evening. Just like to thank the citizens that have been attending the meetings, and I pray that they will continue to attend the meetings. Just a reminder about the Black History celebration for Juneteenth on Saturday, June the 19th. As you may have seen on the news, I believe it was on yesterday, President Biden signed into federal law that Juneteenth would be a federal holiday. Now, this doesn't go into effect, I believe, until next year for the employees of Bell Fountain Neighbors, but I think this is a milestone for us as a community and for us as a people and for the citizens of the United States for this to be recognized. So come on out on June the 19th from 10 to 2 in front of City Hall. Bring a lawn chair, bring some water. It's going to be hot, but we're still going to have a good time. That's my report, Mayor.
Alderman Perry?
No report at this time.
Okay, Mayor, it's back to you now. You're muted, Mayor. Mayor, you're muted. There you go.
We will now open the meeting up to the public.
Mayor.
Let me unmute everybody.
Hello.
Okay, I just asked everyone to unmute.
Hi, my name is Everisha Perry. I'm at 1200 Danville. I have several questions for the signs that are going to be placed regarding fireworks. Can citizens have some of those signs to put in our yards? I'm kind of concerned with the dryness. No rain lately. I'm concerned about fires in our area. Can citizens have some of those signs to place on our block? I don't know if you want me to ask all my questions first or what. I guess I'll go through them. Okay, that was the yard signs. Okay, can the newsletter be updated to, I'm sorry? Oh, can the newsletter be updated to include attendance for board members, not necessarily how they voted, that's fine. But can it also include attendance for the board members, whether they were present or not in the newsletter? That's my second one. Third is, when will we be moving to in-person meetings at the Bell Fountain City Hall? And then the fourth one is Bell Fountain Cemetery, the fence. I've been calling on that to City Hall since April the 1st. Yeah, and lately I sent an email to the mayor and I haven't received a response. I sent the email yesterday. So I'd like to know what is going on with Bell Fountain Cemetery fence. It looks really bad and it's an eyesore to our community. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, to your point with the cemetery fence, I would look at that because part of that fence, I think the part you're referring to may be in Bell Fountain Neighbors, but we'll take a close look at it. Thank you for your concern.
Okay, can you tell me when, well, maybe by the next meeting, you'll have an update? Because I've been calling about this since April, a couple of months now since then. So I'm kind of wondering what will be the status, maybe by the next board meeting?
Yes, yes, we will have a report by the next board meeting.
Thank you. Also, what about the newsletter, including the attendance for all board members? Board or aldermen, I'm sorry, aldermen, all board aldermen.
Well, I can't give you a definitive answer on that. They'll have to answer for themselves on that particular thing. I have a statement that I'm going to share in a moment regarding.
Okay. So would there be something that's out of line that we couldn't put it in the newsletter? Because that might be a way of convincing folks, since they're going to be published, if they aren't attending, that they would maybe take it upon themselves to attend, so they wouldn't be ostracized in the newsletter.
That's something we'll have to look at. I can't really say on that.
Okay.
I'll have to consult with the attorney on it.
Okay, and what about the in-person meetings? Will that be restarting again soon?
We will. I don't have a date yet, but that is something that we're looking at. What we want to do as we have our in-person meeting, we also want to continue the Zoom meeting.
All right.
So when we get that worked out, we'll let you know on that as well.
All righty, thank you.
You're welcome. Peg, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pearson. I have two things. One is, I think what Per Barrett and the people at the rec center have done with the pool is absolutely phenomenal. The opening of the pool was great. The pool is very clean. The area around it's very clean. The work that was done is superb. And I'd like to also single out the lifeguards. I've been going to that pool for many years, and I'm not putting down the lifeguards from years past, but what they're doing this year is welcoming people back to the pool. I almost stopped dead in my tracks when they said, "Welcome back, glad you're here." And the other thing I see is that they're spending a lot of time talking to the young kids, especially if the lifeguard blows a whistle at them for running or whatever. Usually the head lifeguard goes over and comes down to their level and explains to them why it's not a good thing to run. They're not yelling at them or it's just such a pleasant experience to go to the pool. So I'm so glad we have it, and I'm so glad people work so hard to get it for our community. And the other thing I see at the pool is lots of families coming, especially like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They come and it's delightful. The other thing I have is probably a question for the city treasurer. I'm curious, we have a budget for the coming year. Are we operating out of that budget right now? And if we are, how could we be if the budget hasn't been passed?
So to answer your question, at this time, we're only operating at the 2020, 2021 budget that was previously approved. We haven't implemented the next fiscal year budget just yet.
Okay, so when you say that departments are at where they should be or they're below budget, we're talking about they're below the budget for 2020.
Yeah, the
Is that
current
correct?
year. Yeah, so 2020 and 2021, the fiscal year ends June 2021. So yes, between July 2020 and June 2021.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Are you finished, Bay?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right, well, I thank you for your compliments of the rec center. Jimmy, is he on? Let me see if I see him on here. Jimmy, are you still on?
Yes, Mayor, I'm here.
All right. The credit from what you said, the rec center goes directly to Jimmy, and someday I'll learn to pronounce his last name.
That's current check button. I had to give a big
Jimmy's doing a phenomenal job over there, and
that.
thank you for recognizing that.
Thank you. I had to give a lot of credit to Pat Barrett and
All right.
you kind too.
Anyone else?
Yes, this is Kathy Mason at 1013 Donnell. I'd like to address a couple things that the prior speakers have said. The first young lady talked about fire hazards with the fireworks. She's not wrong. So they were having fireworks in this city, which is one street over from where I live. One of them came into this lady's yard right across the street from me and got down in between her 2 trash cans. It burned the one up completely. Big hole in it. You couldn't even use it. They had to pick it up. And so
Man.
And the other thing about the budget, and of course somebody other than me will have to address this, I guess, but I was the treasurer for my union when I was active. If the budget is not passed coming into, I guess, 21, 22, you would probably operate under the old budget. It wouldn't be that you couldn't operate at all. So
That is correct. No, you're correct. It will revert to the old budget. So we will continue to operate until the new budget is passed.
Yeah, I didn't want people to panic thinking we were not going to be able to operate.
No, we'll operate.
Thing that will be interesting to see is the older person that does the newsletter is one of the older persons that's not showing up for any of the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how that's going to work out.
Yeah, well, it'll get solved.
Okay. And as always, I thank those of you who are there. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Oh, hello.
Hello. We hear you.
Okay. Hold on. Can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes,
How come I can't be heard?
I can hear you.
Oh, Laura, come on.
All right.
We hear you.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you for saying that you were going to read a statement, because I was busy, but I didn't hear a statement at the beginning of the meeting. I thought maybe I'm generally kind of technically challenged with these things. But anyway, thank you for agreeing to read that. I have specific questions and then a comment. I looked on our website for under budget for the 2020-21 year. The budget is not listed. So either city clerk or city treasurer, I don't know who's responsible for having our current budget online, but it isn't on our website. So that's one issue that I hope that we can have resolved pretty quickly. Chief, I want to follow up on the question I raised at the last meeting regarding the do not drive on shoulder signs that have been removed in the Ward 2 section of our city, from Bell Fountain and Chambers Road to Bell Fountain and 270. Those signs have been taken down, and if memory served me correctly, you didn't seem to know anything about it at our last meeting. So I want to know if you were able to follow up on that. For the city attorney, the question I have is regarding our ordinances. When I read our ordinances, generally speaking, at the end of the section, there will be additional sections that are listed. For instance, section 2-27-22-28, it'll say reserved. Does that mean there are actually some more ordinances that are written, but you have to have special permission to view them? Or exactly what does that mean? I've always wanted, and I've just never asked the question. What does it mean for those sections of our ordinances that are reserved? And regarding some comments from the other citizens, it's very disconcerting. I was on a Riverview Garden School District Zoom meeting at 5 o'clock this afternoon. They are beginning an initiative to try to improve communications between the district and the community. And Avant Elliott has participated in those Zoom meetings for the last 2 or 3 that we've had. And as a citizen, a tax-paying citizen here in the city, it is quite disturbing that our elected officials appear to pick and choose what Zoom meetings they want to participate in, and while neglecting the meetings that city tax dollars are paying their stipend. That's disconcerting. And then Mr. Carroll has announced that he is holding a listening session, which I guess it's his right to do, for citizens to voice their concerns and complaints in his front yard. But we're on an authorized city meeting right now. I would think that if he were truly concerned about our concerns and our questions, he would participate in our authorized city meetings. And I'm going to say it again. I truly disagree that these people still have access to city services. Avant Elliott made the statement, the declaration that our city attorney bills were over $10,000 a month, yet they still have the privilege of running up those bills. I don't think that that's right. I think those kinds of city services should be rescinded from these people who are abandoning their job. It's not fair to the rest of us. That's all I gotta say, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, as we conclude our meeting for tonight, I have a statement that I'd like to read as we prepare to dismiss our meeting. As mayor of the city of Bell Fountain Neighbors, it is the community's expectation that I continue to move the city forward and overcome obstacles that impede the progress of our great community. Since February, the productivity of general public meeting has been continuously obstructed by the intentional and unexcused absence of 4 specific board members: Barbara West, Ward 1, James Carroll, Ward 2, Teresa Reed, Ward 2, and Miranda Avon Elliott, Ward 4. City business can only be conducted and accomplished with a quorum of the board, which requires the minimum attendance of 5 board members. A quorum at general public meeting gives the board the authority to vote on legislation and improve of important discussions on that oversee the city. The failure of these 4 specific board members to satisfy attendance at general public meetings has systematically eroded any and all successes the city could have enjoyed and celebrated. As a result, since February, we have lost too many opportunities because of the behavior of these 4 board members. Opportunities that would have a positive and transformational impact on our community. Case in point, we lost the Parks and Recreational Grant worth over $400,000 last year due to the inappropriate behavior of one of these specific elected officials. The city has the opportunity to apply and for the same $400,000 grant this year. However, it requires the passage of a resolution by a quorum vote of the board at the next general public meeting on July 1. Without a quorum, there will be no passage of the resolution, and the city will again lose over $400,000 in grant money. It is a fact that the city has a non-functioning board of aldermen. Therefore, as your mayor, I will meet the community's expectation and overcome the obstacles that has been hurting our community for too long. Hence, I am declaring control over all city businesses as appropriate. In the absence of the board, until the board meets as a quorum to perform their elected obligation of services to this community. It is a travesty that we have half of our board members, as was stated by Citizen Lane, they can attend Zoom meetings all over the area, but they cannot attend the Zoom meetings where they were sworn to attend all board meetings. That is their testimony. They have sworn to uphold the rules and regulations of the state and this city, and they failed to do it. It is up to me and those who are willing to take actions. And I tell you tonight, we will take action. If there's nothing else to claim our business, our attention tonight, then we will ask for adjournment. Alderman Thomas, you muted.
No, I was just saying, just dismiss the meeting. We don't have a quorum.
Go ahead.
You asked for adjournment, but we don't have a quorum, so,
So then the meeting is adjourned.
yes, sir.
All right. Good night, all.
Good night, sir.
Good night, 8:20 p.m.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night, everybody.
Good night, all.
Good night. Good night.
Mayor, I'm gone.
All righty. Where you
All
going?
right. I'm gonna click the computer off. Okay,
Shut up and leave.